Okay, in this video, we're going to take a look at how to use your own media inside of shaders, how to bring in your images, your videos, your SVG logos, and put them in the canvas. We're also going to take a look at positioning, at transformation, at translation, at anchor points, and all that fun stuff so that you can get pixel perfect canvas sizing. So let's start by just getting an image into this empty canvas that we have here. This is a desktop size 1920 by 1080 empty shader canvas. The best way to upload media, now you can do it from the media panel, but I think the best way is just to drag and drop your image. Here I've got one from the desktop. I'm dragging it in to the canvas now. And this is a bit of a bigger image, so give it a second to upload. There it goes. And you can see we've dropped in a new image texture component with our image loaded from our media gallery. Perfect. But this image is a little too big. Let me zoom out and you'll see. The dimensions of our image do not match the dimensions of our canvas because this image is larger than our canvas. It's in the 2600 width range where our canvas is about 1920 wide. Now there's a couple of ways we could handle this, and they're both basically the opposite of each other. The first thing is we could say I want this image to fit my canvas size. So to do that, right click, fit to frame. Just like that, our image has been made to the canvas size. It's perfectly fit. Now it does use the fill object fit mode, which means it's going to sort of squash and squish that image to make it fit. If you wanted to maintain the aspect ratio and just maybe crop the shortest edge out or the longest edge out, you could do that using the cover mode. Now we're keeping that aspect ratio, and no matter what we do with our canvas sizing, it's not going to squash and stretch. It's going to crop instead. So that's one way you could do it. Let me just reset that back to fill and reset the size to be a nice large size. So this is our original sizing, right? We came in with. The opposite way of doing this is to say, okay, I want the canvas, the frame, to match the image size, right? I want to make the canvas bigger because the image is bigger. Or if the image was smaller, I want to make the canvas smaller to match. And that's just a different right-click option. We have set frame to image dimensions. If you do that, suddenly you'll see our image is 1-for-1 pixels, right? We've got this 2600 wide canvas, which matches our image, which we know is 2600 wide. So what I'm going to do for the sake of discussion is just put us back to desktop mode, fit to frame with cover. And there you go. We have something reasonable that we can look at for the rest of this video. So that's how you upload your own media into shaders. And where does that media go? Well, obviously it goes onto the canvas, but it also goes into your media gallery. This media gallery is available across all your projects, across all your shaders, and it's just all the stuff that you've uploaded into shaders that you can choose to use. So here you can see our image. I just had this palm tree image up here and a bunch of random images I've uploaded during previous testing. And you can actually take any of these from the media gallery and just one-click add them into your composition. So here I have this random smiley face sticker. I know it's a small image, so we'll use that one. And I'll drop that into place. And there you go. There it is. It's coming in with its natural dimensions, and it's going to position it in the center of the frame. And then you can drag it around, rotate it, do whatever you want to do with that image. So let me just reset transformation by hitting the reset option on the props transformation section. And that's going to put that right back in the middle. So let's take a look at, I guess, first off, let me name these. So we'll call these palm trees, if I can spell palm correctly. And we'll call this smile. So now we know what our layers are named and we can actually reference them later. I'm going to turn palm trees off just so we can see our smile. And I'm going to size this down. I'm just going to haphazardly size this down to a smaller size. And I'm going to position this, let's say, in the top right corner. I'm going to literally butt it up right against those edges. No padding, no margin. We're just going all the way right up against the top right corner. Now, if you watched an earlier video about the introduction to the design editor, you might remember that the dimensions of our canvas are for preview only. The dimensions that actually get used are the dimensions you apply to the output shader component. So when you export this to code, what happens is you can apply either CSS styles or you can apply Tailwind styles or whatever you use for styling. You apply that to the shader layer. A canvas gets rendered that follows those dimensions. This allows shaders to work for like responsive hero sections. As the browser's coming down, it's not always going to be 1920 pixels wide. You have different people looking at it on mobile phones and whatnot. And so these dimension previews are literally just for how you want to preview it in this workspace, which means this doesn't actually work across all devices. Let me show you what I mean. If I take this and I say, okay, this is great. Let's imagine the screen is a little bit smaller. Maybe it's a little less wide. And I save those dimensions. Well, now we've got a small issue because our smiley face here is cut off. It's perfect on the height because we haven't really adjusted the height of this frame, but the width is now shifting some of that content over. We're cutting off the right-hand side of our smile. Now, what's happening here is, it's sort of hard to explain, but I guess I can do this in a very simple way. The anchor point is always going to be the center. And so as we're making this smaller, we're sort of positioning based on the center, and it's getting thrown off. And you can see that here under the transformation section, it is trying to position this on the center. So let's go ahead and jump back to 1920. And when I do, we're back to exactly where we wanted to be, right? Where we're completely up against the edges. And let me set the anchor position now for this image to the top right corner where we're positioning it. Now, let's imagine I drop this down back to, what was it, 1,000 pixels or so? I forget what number we used. But let's say we drop that down. It is now perfectly positioned exactly where it's supposed to be, because now it's positioning itself next to that top right corner. So as that corner comes in, it doesn't matter where it goes, it doesn't matter what the rest is happening with the canvas. It's in 0, 0 as far as the position is concerned from the top right corner. You can see that here in the X and Y. In this position, it is 0, 0. If I was to say, okay, well, let's see how far away is it from the bottom left corner, we keep it in the same position, but now you can see our X position is 70.5% and our Y position is 72.8%. And that naturally leads to interesting examples when you change the dimensions back to a different size. We keep those X and Y positions, but it's different now that the canvas is a different size. This brings us to pixel positioning. So let me take a look at the anchor point. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to set this in the top right corner where it was before. So now we're at X0, Y0 relative to the top right corner. And let's go ahead and swap this from percentages down to pixels. If I click on this percentage symbol here next to X, you'll see there's a tooltip that says switch unit. I'm going to swap these X and Y to pixels and set it to maybe 40 pixels for both. I'm also going to come in here to width and height. Those are already set to pixels. You can set those to percentages. I'm going to go ahead and set this to just maybe a nice even 300 by 300. You'll notice when I did that, I adjusted the width when I did that. It also adjusted the height, and the reason why is because we have our aspect ratio locked. You can toggle that off if you want to adjust them separately, but for an image, it's intended that the aspect ratio by default is going to stay the same so you don't end up squashing or stretching it. So that's that. We've got our X and Y defined as 40 pixels and 40 pixels from the top right edge. So now we are positioned in this top right corner, and we will stay that way even if I bring this all the way down back to 1,000. We are now exactly 40 pixels from the top and exactly 40 pixels from the right. So this is how you position. This works well with images, and this also works well with other layers. I'm just using an image because it's a good example for this. If we were to come in and say, okay, I want this linear gradient to be positioned the exact same way, you could do the exact same thing. You could swap this to pixel mode. Let's say we want this again to 40, 40 from the top right, drop it behind the smile, and there you go. This gives you a good example of these two will move together in unison as I go to 1920. There you go. They move together in unison. They're both aligned 40 pixels from the top right corner. So that is images, that is media, and that is using transformation and pixel level units inside of shaders.